What's good, everybody? I'm Blitz5, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over my controls for PUBG on the Xbox One, and this is also going to be usable for all the PlayStation players out there because the controller settings are the same from console to console. And in this video, I'm going to be going over some advice and tips that I have for you guys on how to set up your own controller. Obviously, from player to player, it's going to be a little bit different. Maybe you guys like to play with a faster sensitivity or a lower sensitivity, but hopefully this will help you at least get the basics down. And I'll be going over how to set up your dead zone, type A versus type B, all that stuff that you guys are going to need to know to be a better player at PUBG. So let's get right into it. But first and foremost, I'm actually in the training mode, and I definitely recommend this for all new players right now. This is a great place to get acclimated to the game. I have a video about it on my channel, which I'll link down in the description box below. Definitely recommend this for all new players. So we hold start here and we get into settings. And the first thing we're going to see here is type A versus type B. And again, I have a longer video just dedicated to type A versus type B on my page, which I'll link down in the description box below. And I highly recommend you guys watch this, especially if you're using type A, because the TLDR here is that I recommend using type B. Type A is the default controller setting, and I'll let you guys go watch that video for anybody who's not aware of what this is. Then we get into whether you play inverted or not. This is just a personal preference. I play type B, so let me move this back. I play inverted, so I have this off, and then, or I have this on and this off, I'm sorry. Then we get down to vibration strength. I like having the vibration on. I know a lot of pro players, I say this with quotation marks, like to turn their vibration off, but to me, I like it. I've been playing with it forever. Then we get into the dead zone, and this is a really interesting thing here. So I've gotten a lot of questions about this over the past week or so, and since the launch of PUBG on PlayStation. So what the dead zone is the area that allows your thumbstick to move before it's responsive. So basically, the lower the dead zone, the more responsive your controller thumbstick is going to be, and the higher the dead zone, the less responsive your controller thumbstick is going to be. And why would you want your controller thumbstick to be less responsive? And that's for one big reason. When you have an old controller, you play the game a lot of times your controller starts to move a little bit, the thumbsticks at least. The thumbsticks will lean and they'll have issues with them. So I think they've set this to a default of 10. So how to test if you have any leaning with your sensitivity, or I mean with your thumbstick, is to go into the controller settings here, hit start. I have this set to 9, turn it down. It should be, 10, 10 for you guys. Turn this down, turn both of them down to 3. What you're going to do here is apply this at 3 or 2 or 1, wherever you want to do, go all the way down to the bottom. You're going to take both your thumbsticks and kind of rotate both of them and leave them flat on your desk. And then after you do that, you're going to pay attention to your cursor and see if it moves. And as you can see, my cursor is actually moving up the tree right now. So what you can do is, if that's happening to you, you take that dead zone and you move it up. So I found that 9 worked for me. And when I apply it onto 9, every time you do this, twirl both of your thumbsticks, let them reset, leave the controller on your desk, on your table, wherever you have it, on a flat surface. If it doesn't move, then you are good to go. Then another thing you can do with this is, some players like to play with a really high dead zone because then their sensitivity is not affected if they lightly touch their controller. So say there's a guy at this tree over here, that's a guy's head. Any movement you make is going to take you off the tree. Say you're just trying to adjust a little bit and now you're off, right? If your dead zone is really high, any little movement won't move you off this tree, but then it's also going to make it harder for you to get to this target because it's going to be less responsive. If you're over here, you actually will be less responsive getting onto the tree, but once you're on the tree, you will have a better time staying on the target. But for me, I honestly prefer having a low dead zone, and I would just stick to what I showed you guys. Do the little test, see if your cursor moves around, and try to get this as low as possible so your thumbsticks are as responsive as possible, because I feel like this will help you guys with any little fine movement. If you want to move around, you want to make sure that your controller is being responsive and that you turn around in time, that there's not a delay from when you make a right turn to when your cursor actually moves. If someone's coming behind you, this will help you kind of turn around and get some shots on the enemy when they surprise you. So that's my opinion on that. I'm sure people have different opinions on dead zone, but I think that's pretty safe for everybody. Then these first section of sensitivities, a lot of these are new to the game. I haven't messed around with these yet. I just keep most of the stuff on default. And honestly, my recommendation to you guys is, as you play the game, just leave everything on default so you can get used to the game. And then as you play, adjust your sensitivity higher from there or lower from there. Because the more you move this around and try to play, say you try a high sensitivity, then low sensitivity, you're making your gameplay really inconsistent, and it's going to become confusing and make your game you're not going to play as well when you switch it up a lot. Then we're on to aim acceleration. When it's on 1, to my understanding, this is basically like having your aim acceleration off. And I recommend this for all the console gamers. The idea of aim acceleration is great. The idea of aim acceleration is supposed to be that if you have your aim acceleration really high, if you're aiming at something far away, any small movement is still going to be slow if your sensitivity is slow. So the ideal situation here is that you'll be able to make fine movements on somebody's head, and then if someone's behind you, the aim acceleration picks up as you turn. The faster you turn, aim acceleration picks up, and then you can instantly turn around and shoot someone in the back, and that's what people do on PC with their mouse. We got a visitor here. What's up, dude? But honestly, because this makes your turning inconsistent, but depending on how fast you're turning your controller around or your thumbstick around, you really don't know how fast you're going to turn around. So you could actually go past your target when the person's at the sign. You actually go past him because the aim acceleration is picking up. So basically, you want your controller to be static, which means it's consistent every time you turn. It's always going to be the same sensitivity. It's kind of like muscle memory, and that allows you to kind of understand how to get on target faster. And then if your acceleration is too high, you could go past your target. Say it's right here. You could go past your target and then have to go back, and then you're wasting time kind of fixing to get on target again. So in my opinion, I would just leave this off or at 1 on the default sensitivity. It's a great idea, but it just doesn't really work out in practice. Then we get to over shoulder aiming sensitivity, and this is where I bumped mine up a little bit. Honestly, it could maybe be even a little bit higher. And as you play the game, you're going to realize that aiming down sight is really the way to go. Pretty much any range, it's helpful, but when someone's really up close, this is where I like to aim over the shoulder. So say someone's inside here. I don't know where he is. He's on the left side or the right side. I might just pick a side and say, hey, he's on the left side. He's right here. Get on target and shoot him, or go back. Say I want to check both sides. Nope. Good. And now I can enter the building. But if I were to do this aiming down sights, you can see I'm using the red dot right now. It's pretty slow to go this way and then turn all the way that way. Or say I do this. Still pretty slow to do that and aim in both directions. So having the over the shoulder aim really high is great. And this is really the only distance where you're going to want to shoot somebody over the shoulder. I mean, maybe if someone's here, you can shoot over the shoulder, but I really wouldn't recommend it. As you play the game more, like I said, you're going to get way more kills if you aim down sights and actually shoot your enemies, because aiming over the shoulder is very inaccurate in this game. And then this brings me to our actual optic sensitivity. So let's hold start and go back down. There's no quick way to get down here. And you'll see my sensitivities for the different optics. So we'll start off with the one-time scope. So this is basically anything holographic and below. So holographic, red dot, and iron sights. And this is where I set this up to my high sensitivity, which is still medium, and this is around 9. And I like this at the medium range because you're going to have to choose your play style, right? Because there's so many different situations you're going to engage in the game. You're going to be shooting people far away. You're going to be shooting people up close. So if you like to shoot people far away, you're going to want to have a lot of your sensitivities slower so you can make very fine movements in between. Say there's a guy in the rock, you want to make very fine movements in between here. But if it's too slow, then you can't pan across your screen and see what's going on. You'll try to pan across the screen, you'll be going this slow. So you have to kind of choose what you like to do. If you're going to be shooting people up close, like you like close quarter combat, then you might want to have your red dot on 20 so you can go in here and look both ways this fast with your red dot scope and take people out. For me, I like the medium range so I can do both, right? I can aim far away, pretty steady. Oh, I see a guy. I think he's there. Maybe I can hit him with the red dot, maybe not. And if there's a guy in here, say he's there, I can do this and then turn in and take my shots without missing, right? But if someone's running around me, I'm not going to be able to catch up with them with the red dot. So I want to make sure you guys understand that point, that you need to determine your play style in the game. For example, if you're playing Call of Duty, for the most part, most of your engagements in that game are going to be very up close. So people tend to play with a high sensitivity because they turn on people. They know there's going to be people around every corner. You corner check as you run through the game. But in Battle Royale games, there could be someone 1,000 meters away, 500 meters away, or 5 meters away. So I like to play with a medium sensitivity. And getting back into this, let's scroll back down. Again, no quick way to do this. And then I basically just kind of tier my scopes down from 9. So we have the 1 times is 9, 2 times is 8. Then I like to keep these very similar because they're kind of similar range. In my opinion, 3 or 4 times are very, very close. So I keep these both at 7. And then for the variable zoom scopes, these all have variable zoom options. 6 goes down to 3, 8 goes down to 4, and 15 goes down to like roughly, I think like 10 or something like that. Sorry for me not knowing that off the top of my head. But these I've all kept at 6. So then I get kind of used to how they work, and it's not different when I get from scope to scope. And then if we go to the SLR, I've actually set up the 6 times scope. And again, this is where I don't want it to be too fast where I can't make a small adjustment. Like say there's a guy right in between this tree. I want to make that adjustment, but I also want to be able to scan across the area here, because if you can't do this, then you really can't eliminate that there's like, you're safe in this area. For example, say there's a bunch of bushes up on this tree. with this sensitivity, you can quickly zoom across and see, okay, no one's there. 310 is safe. From 300 to 345 is safe. And I say that a lot in my games because when you're in a squad, you want to have every angled cover. But if you had this on one sensitivity, you're going to sit here going like this, trying to scan, or doing this, and then this, and then this. And this just makes me dizzy doing this in the game. So honestly, I recommend starting off with a medium sensitivity, trying this out, being able to scan across the field, engage in every situation, and then going from there. So hopefully I didn't over explain that and you guys understand what I'm saying here, but I wanted to elaborate on that and make sure that that was clear with everybody. So moving on from that, we have our gameplay settings. These are just personal preferences. Again, I recommend having a cursor color so it's easier to see when you're scanning across the field. Also, a lot of people change their colorblind mode so the blood is a different color. That's really cool, but I just keep it red. I know it makes it a little bit more visible, but honestly, I've seen blood splatter the red dot from really far away, so you can see it no matter what. It's really just up to your personal preference. I like the traditional blue zone and the traditional red blood, and I might be alone in that at this point, so I just keep it the same. I also have my compass background on. I don't even know if this option is available on PlayStation yet. This is a new one in the game where this is traditionally how the compass looked up top. And then by leaving this on, going back to gameplay, you can actually see that it's darker now on screen. And I like that a lot more because it's makes it easier for me to call out the compass marks, which is important when you're playing with other people in this game. You gotta call out where you see the enemies. And then going back to the gameplay, this is also a relatively new option in the game, and this is your third person aim camera position. So we have different options here, and this is where the camera resets after you use the over the shoulder peek. So this is last aim shoulder, latest peak shoulder, reset to right shoulder, reset to left shoulder. So these will always go back to the same shoulder, and then these are kind of dependent on where you're aiming. So I like just leaving mine on aim shoulder. It seems to just kind of work like the peak shoulder. I think it honestly might be a little bit broken. So for example, say I'm here and I think there's a guy at that doorway. So I'm hiding here. If I hit left bumper, once I determine I want to be on the left side, every time I go back to left bumper, it does this. And then say I think there's a guy this way. Now, every time I go right bumper, it's to the right. So then it's not defaulting to my left shoulder every single time. This is, again, personal preference. I just think defaulting to your last shoulder is the way to go. Because if you're peeking over, I don't want to have it reset like this and then click to go back, right? That's annoying. So if I'm looking right, I want it to just reset right every single time. And that's just personal preference for me. Then let's see what else we got here. I think that does it for gameplay options. Then on to audio. This is just the lobby music. I turn that off because I stream. And then we have brightness. I feel like everybody who plays first-person games always turns their brightness up so it's better visibility. I have mine in 83. I don't know why. It just seems to work, and for me, it's fine. So I think we covered everything here. Like I said, as a recap, check out this video for the Type A versus Type B. I play inverted personal preference, dead zone. Do the test, figure out where your controller limitations are and how that works. But to me, you want it to be as accurate as possible and the most responsive that it can be. And then vibration strength, I keep it on. General sensitivity default. Keep these things at a medium range. Try tearing it down like this. Keep your aiming sensitivity over the shoulder up pretty high. Try to focus on aiming over the shoulder up close only. You'll get better at the game. You'll get more kills. And there we go, everybody. So hopefully you guys found this video helpful. If you did, please like the video and please consider subscribing. It really helps small content creators like myself out. And I got a ton of PUBG and video game related content on my page. And I also stream every day during the week from 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as always, thank you all for watching. I'm Blitz5 and peace out.